All right, here we go, guys. It is Wednesday night. The red light is on. It's time for Ben and Bananas UFC Vegas 88. I'm Dave Van Auken. To my left, the ruthless one, the fight of Fight Bananas, L. Dawson. L, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing good, doing good. Underneath, bringing it back, old school Fight Bananas. Like, this is OG stuff. This is 2018 stuff right here. The Professor, John Radford. John, brother, how are you doing, man?
Oh, good guys, good guys. Thank you for having me back on, buddy. I appreciate it. And nice to meet you finally,
Man.
Al.
Dude, L doesn't know about those, man. 2018, 2019, we used to do like pods like 3 times a week, John. We were
bro, all the time. Talk about it all. Talk about whatever we could talk about.
That is true. That is true. All right, let's get into it, guys. It's this is the betting preview of this Saturday night's UFC heavyweight main event. Really close in odds. I just checked it out. I don't know which way I'm going, guys. Tuivasa, Marcin Tybura can go either way, but there's a lot of really cool, sneaky fights in this card. And then, of course, let's just be brutally honest, there's a lot of Fight Bananas ties in this card. Mike Beast Boy Davis is an original from Fight Bananas. He's back in the UFC. Big fight versus Nathan Levy. A lot of respect on him. Brian Battles in the co-main event. Brian Battles been on this under Fight Bananas 10 to 12 shows. He's been on betting shows with L and I. A lot of podcasts with myself. He's trained with my boy John Radford there, so a lot of ties with Brian Battle. GM3 and Brian Barberina's fighting. Thiago Moises is on the prelims. You know, great friends with L and Grant. So a lot of Fight Bananas ties this Saturday, guys.
Yes. Yeah.
And how many? There's 2 or 3 ATT people on it, L?
I think just 2.
2? Okay.
After a very ATT full week last week.
They were there Saturday night. They were there.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. All right, let's do it. Best bet on the board. Let's start with you, L. What's the fight that jumps at you? That's we got it guaranteed. Let's make money, and then we can make some parlays and get some underdogs. But we got to win this bet. What's that?
Best bet on the card is Thiago Moises inside the distance.
Wow. Okay.
Thiago Moises, like we've seen him against guys who are ready for the UFC, but are making a short notice debut. And like, I think we can all agree that Melky is a fantastic fighter and he has really proven himself in the UFC. And Thiago just made it look easy in that fight. I think, and Melky's a big featherweight. This guy is a natural lightweight. It looks like he's fought at welterweight as well. He has been knocked out. He got knocked out and he's on a 1-fight win streak right now. So it's like, he's fought decent guys outside the UFC, but I think Moises is one of those guys that brings the veteran level that you see guys like Dustin Poirier provide without having been in the UFC that long, because he's been training in a high level room for so long. His jiu-jitsu is so high level and he's so clean on the feet. I know, like, obviously Thiago's coming off the loss to Benoit Saint-Denis. We can all agree that that's not a loss to scoff at either.
Great loss.
Yeah, that's not a bad one to have on your record. And I feel like Ramirez just hasn't seen that level yet. And Thiago he's so fundamental. He's so clean. He's very defensively sound on the feet. And he's looking to get that win back as well. I feel like him getting this finish is just the lock of the card.
So my one thing I want to just ask you, why do you think it's inside the distance? What is it, just because you think the levels are so far off on this? He's going to get the job done, maybe submission or even TKO. Why do you think it's inside the distance on the win?
There's a couple things. This kid is used to getting finishes and he's used to getting early finishes, which tells me that he's going to come out hard, especially with it being short notice as well. He's going to come out hard. He's probably going to get taken down off that forward pressure fairly early. And Thiago is one of those guys where if he's a lot like Moicano. If he gets your back, man, it's just over. It's just over. It's the level is so high. And Thiago, he might run into something too. I saw somebody say KO in the comments. Like, that absolutely could happen too, which is why I didn't go straight to the submission. I'm just leaving it at Thiago winning inside the distance.
Love it. Okay, I'll appreciate that. John, do you have a best bet on the card? Have you been looking it through? Are you going very homerish? Are we going with our boy Mike Beast Boy Davis, or is there something else you're looking at?
So one thing I've noticed, like, from watching this for as long as I've been watching it, one, I am going to go with Mike Davis. I'm going to say he's there. I'm just going to ride with our guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go with him versus Nathan Levy. I can see it go in the distance. Nathan Levy, I don't think is any type of scrub or any type of he's not a slacker in any way. He's a dog. He's definitely a dog. He's going to come to fight. It's going to be one. I think you see Mike Davis.
Oh,
No.
it was the greatest fight prediction of all time.
And we didn't
Minute
even hear it.
27 knockout. Oh,
Oh, he's frozen.
yeah,
No.
we lost him. We
We
him.
lost John. Damn.
All right. Hey, we'll keep on going. Hey, that's to jump back on that. Yeah, I'm very high on Mike Davis as well.
Same.
I think it's a really good fight. I think Natan Levy's legit. I don't know about inside the distance. I think it's going to go back and forth. I do think Mike could get a sneaky submission win. Everyone thinks of him as a striker. I can see him doing the damage on, striking, getting him down, and then, rear naked choke, some kind of arm, something of that nature. So I could see Mike winning via submission. So hopefully we'll get John back on. We'll keep on rolling through the card. Let's go with underdog plays. The main event's really close in odds, so you could go either way on the main event and make it an underdog. Of course, or it could be someone else. What do you add on underdog, Gail?
I think this is actually a really tough card for underdogs. There aren't a ton. Some of the lines are really wide. Some of them I just don't necessarily like those dogs. But I do like Jackie Amorim here.
Okay.
Obviously, she's my teammate. I know how high level her grappling is. I think Corey McKenna, she tends to want to grapple. And I think that she's very confident in her grappling. He's back.
John's back.
So sorry, guys.
No, it's all good, brother. All good. El, you finish up on Jackie real quick, and John, we'll go right back to you with Mike Davis. We're on an underdog.
Well, so I do like her at the plus money here. She is dangerous with her submissions, and she's shown a lot of improvement since her UFC debut, especially in just her ability to get those sweeps, to get her position back. I think Sam Hughes is just so gritty, and she was really tough, and the lights of the debut and everything got to Jackie, and we've seen her do much better since then. So I feel like Corey McKenna will kind of fall into the trap of wanting to grapple, because that is usually what she does. Like, I think they're kind of even. I watched one of her fights a little earlier today, and I feel like they're pretty even on the feet here. I think Jackie does set up her shots. I think she's able to set up her shots much better than she did in the Sam Hughes fight. And Corey McKenna times her shots as well. She times them well, but I feel like she might get caught in that trap of wanting to grapple Jackie, which is dangerous because Jackie can sweep you. She can sub you off her back. And I like the plus money here for her.
Don't look at either of your phones, guys, real quick. Corey McKenna is 3-1 in the UFC. This is going to be her 5th fight. How old is Corey McKenna?
23.
26.
She's 24 years old. That's amazing.
Close. Yeah.
So close.
She got in very young. Dude,
I didn't know she was that young. Like, that is amazing. Like, wow, like, kudos to her. And one thing we said off air, and maybe this is the other way in your fight, she is going to grow so exponentially, fight after fight after fight camp after fight camp. Like, a lot of 24-year-old girls are not in the UFC yet. They're still in Invicta, or they're still in, LFA, whatever. So she is growing at a high rate. She's with the best coaches. I know she trains with Faber and all that. I was leaning Jackie until I saw that. That scares me at her being so young. I think, like, we don't think of her as this or that, but she can grow into that. So, we'll see. John Lee real quick says, I'm always pulling for the underdog Tybura. All right, we'll see. We'll get into that later. All right, John, back to our guy, Mike Beast Boy Davis. You think he's going to get the job done, and that's where it kind of froze up.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, so, yes, I think he's going to get the job done. I think it's going to be he's going to probably get the best of the stand-up. I think he'll start to pick him apart, find his rhythm, start landing those shots. I think Natan's going to have to make it a grimy against the cage, kind of clinchy game, try to get him down, try to use his offensive, grappling to wrestling to nullify the striking that I think Mike is going to be able to get off on him. And I take that. I'm not sure it's going to go, it'll probably go the 3 rounds, but it might be a one-sided victory, or it might be one of those where the only separation in the fight is when you see them striking, and that's Mike doing it. Everything else is going to be kind of muffed and mullified or nullified in the clinch and everything. But I think Mike definitely pulls that out. As far as the underdog, though, I like Brian Barberino for my underdog.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
I like a dog, and that dude's got dog in him all day long. Like
He is the
Mind
dog.
that at all.
you got to kill him, or you got to put him out, you got to choke him out, you got to finish him. Otherwise, he's coming.
And it's so funny. GM3, who I like a lot, both Brian and GM3's been on the show multiple times. GM3 is that guy. He looks really good, gets a submission win, or he just gets like railroaded. Like there's no middle. Like GM3 doesn't do like, oh, that was a good performance. It was a great performance. He gets the rear naked choke, or he gets squashed. Like it's really funny. There's no middle ground for GM3. And let's see if I know my friend L. Dawson so well. Did you just text Grant Dawson your food order a minute ago?
No, I texted you.
Oh,
Grant
you
never
didn't hear your
texted
phone
me
go
back
off?
where he was eating. So I don't know. I can't tell him what I want because I don't know where they're getting food.
okay.
He's hanging out with his boyfriend, Nate.
Oh, man. That was a good text, by the way. That will keep off air. All right. So, Barbara, dude, that's actually, John, I like that one a lot. And I think the last time I saw he's like plus 200, plus 220. So I'm
looking at on the ESPN website, he's plus 205 right now.
Give me that. The Brian Barberina plus over 205. I love that. All right. 3 fight parlays. John, if you have anything, you can go with it, but we'll start with L. 3 fight parlays. You can go over unders, you can go finishes, or you can just pick 3 significant winners. Anything you want, L, take it away.
I'm just gonna go three money line fighters here. I agree with everything you said about Mike Davis here. I think he's so athletic, he's so explosive, and he has power. And I feel like Natan Levy is going to want to grapple in this fight, and Mike Davis is an athlete. He's just a freaking athlete. And I feel like when Natan takes a shot, Mike Davis is going to defend well against the cage. He's going to separate with big, powerful strikes. I also really like the over, like you were saying. Natan's tough, but I think Mike Davis is just going to have the bigger moments. But I would just play him on the money line, and then we'll add some juice later on to keep the value going up. I also really, really like Brian Battle here. Brian has really impressed me in his last 2 fights. I will say I don't think either of his last 2 fights are quite the level that Angelusa is of a striker. Yeah. Angelusa is a really technical striker. He had one of my favorite Contender Series fights of all time with Jack Della Maddalena. Such a competitive, incredible fight. I was so impressed with him there.
And look how good Jack Della Maddalena looks right now.
Right. And they had a war.
With a broken arm.
Yeah. Defeated Gilbert Burns with a broken arm. Bro.
That knee was
It was just perfectly timed. But I do really like Angelusa. My issue here is the length of Brian Battle and the style of his striking. I feel like Angelusa, he really likes to pressure, and I think he's going to walk into a lot of these really hard shots. I will say he's never been knocked out. So that makes me like a little anxious about this because Brian Battle is used to knocking these guys stupid.
Yeah.
But I think that the guys that are going to beat Brian Battle are the Renat Fakhretdinovs. I think you need good wrestling, or at least like the threat of high-level wrestling to beat Brian Battle because he is such a unique striker.
And just to throw something out on that fight, I remember I actually talked to Brian that week before the fight. He took that fight on 6-7 days notice, and he kind of said one of those things. He's like, I know I probably have to fight this guy sooner or later. I know he's a great wrestler. Let's just get it done. Like, let's just do it. And sometimes, and then afterwards, he's like, man, maybe I should have had a camp. Maybe I should have had 9 weeks of training just for him instead of 9 days or 6 days or whatever. So, hey, an L's an L. It is what it is. But I remember he took that fight on a week's notice.
And Renat is no law, like no
good.
shame in losing to Renat. He's new in the UFC, and like people don't really know him yet, but that dude's a stud. Like,
so good.
People are going to look back on that loss and think nothing of it. But lastly, I have Isaac Dolgarian beating Christian Rodriguez here. I like C-Rod. I think he's tough. I thought he looked really composed. Obviously, in the Raul Rosas fight, he did really well. But I think that beating Rosas, who has very little cage, like just has very little cage experience, versus a guy like Isaac, who his level of competition, even though he hasn't been doing MMA as long as other guys, he's been wrestling at such a high level for so long. And once he gets one takedown, the control and the damage that he does is just so insanely high level. I know there's a lot of people are worried about Isaac's cardio because you haven't seen it yet, but I honestly don't think that that's going to be an issue for him here.
Sure.
Man, he's so damn tough. Like, you know, he's such a high level wrestler. I think he needs one takedown to win this fight. I genuinely, or at least to win the round. And if he gets one takedown per round, Isaac's winning that fight. And he does so much damage. I would be very surprised if we didn't see a doctor stoppage between rounds if there was no TKO.
And now you say that, and maybe he only needs to get 2 takedowns because one round he could lose round 2 in the middle, right? But he could, if he takes down round 1, dominates and gets in round 3, he wins the fight. Mike Davis, Brian Battle, and Isaac. That's a plus 205 3-fight parlay. So there we go. Not a lot of juicy, but I know I'm jinxing it.
This week.
That's gonna hit. Like I feel really good about that parlay. Brian Battle, a stud in the co-main event. Mike Beast Boy Davis is like one of our favorites on this whole card, and Isaac. So I like that a lot. John, you got a 3-fight parlay for us, or what you thinking?
You know how I bet, Dave. So okay. I always go the biggest numbers I can get for the lowest amount of money, right? For the lowest
dude. My boy puts $2 on a parlay and gets him $7,000. I see.
I try my best.
Have you ever cashed one of those? You got to tell us.
Oh, if I would have parlayed Miesha Tate with Conor McGregor that day, bro, that would have been the one. That would have been the one. I called them both that day. Oh no, I'm sorry. With Nate Diaz and Miesha Tate that day when they won, that's the one that
both underdogs.
I bet them separate. But I'm gonna go with as far as the betting fate or my 3-fight parlay because it gives us the biggest comeback. I'm gonna go Ovin St. Peru, OSP.
Woo!
I'm gonna go Brian Barberino. They both had one's a dog and Ovins can still have pop. He can still hit somebody and put him out. Okay. And then I'm going to go just with Mason Tybura, and let's just run with it and put $5 on it and see what we get.
I'm putting this in the Google machine while the kids
Let's do it. Right? Let's do it.
3 underdogs in a parlay. You got Ryan
Big dog.
Tybura. I know. OSP's like, I think, the biggest dog of the whole card.
Oh, yeah, he is.
500. Plus 500.
No. Got to be more than that.
I'm looking at it.
You did it?
Oh, no. OSP is plus 500.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 1 second, dude. My Google machine is not working right now. Oh, here we go. $10 to win 290. So that's a 2,906 parlay.
Let's go.
Wow.
That's the biggest one in Fight Finesse history.
That might be it.
2,906.
Let's go. I'll put $10 on that any day of the week just to see what happens.
Oh, absolutely. Why not? OSP. Brian Barberina I like a lot. Let's jump in this main event. We haven't talked about it. We're 18 minutes into the show. Guys, Tybura versus Tuivasa, kind of a fan favorite. It's funny. So when this fight was announced, and usually Tuivasa feels like he's on every pay-per-view because he's so fun, he's big, he's over the top. Usually they have good crowds, and that's what Tuivasa does. He's got I think 3 or 4 L's in a row. I think I just looked at it. I think this is good for him to fight at the Apex. 2 reasons why. 1, no crowd. Don't worry about a shoey. Get your goddamn mind right. Like, get right. You're in a fist fight. Throw those big blows. Get out of the crowd for a second. Maybe it's, he's trying to be a crowd pleaser and just instead of winning fights. So I think that's 1. And 2 is when you fight in the Apex, that cage is small. I think that's good for Tai Tuivasa. I think Tai Tuivasa is going to be right there throwing major bombs on him. Doesn't have to chase him. I think Tai Tuivasa has a shot. And I'm actually I'm a little shocked he's the bet-in favorite. I know it's not major, but he's the bet-in favorite against Tybura because I'm leaning Marcin Tybura, but I think this is good for him. It's at the Apex. You agree with any of that?
I think the Apex helps the grapplers.
Yeah, it usually does.
I see what you're saying too, because like Ty needs to knock him out probably in the first round if he's going to win.
Right, and like let's just go. Like we're here.
But, man, I don't know. Obviously, Tybura's been knocked out like plenty of times, so it can happen. But Ty also just has like obscenely horrible defensive wrestling, so it's And I would stay the hell away from this fight if
Okay,
if
so
I'm betting
do
personally.
you like the under on this fight? Do you say, hey, it's going to
I
end
don't
soon?
know. I would think so. I would
Okay.
think that either Tai Tuivasa is getting choked out in the first round or Tybura is getting knocked out in the first round. But Ty is also explosive for a round. So he might just be like a scrambly, pain in the butt on the ground once he gets taken down and like chew up a round doing that. And then Tybura again, then when he's gassed, Tybura gets the sub in the second round. I would lean the under. But I've seen a lot of
under
people
is plus 115. Good value on the under.
I would lean that, but I'm not super confident in it.
All
Like
right,
personally, I'm like, I can't put my stamp of approval on anything on this fight.
I think you're right though. I think she's right. I think it ends early. If you go with it, I think you're right. I really do. It's not gonna. There's no way they have enough gas tank. There's no way Ty has enough gas tank to be smothered for 3 rounds and not get choked out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And then if he lands it early, he has 100% chance to be able to punch him one punch and put him out. You know what I mean? So I don't think it lasts the whole thing at all.
I agree. And here's another one I want to throw at you guys real quick. And it just jumped at me. I'm looking at the betting odds right now. We talked about that co-main event. We talked about how Brian Battle wants to finish fights. And even Lusa has got major power, right? The under 2.5. It's a 3-round fight. It's a co-main event. The under is plus 170. It just seems odd to me.
Really?
Like, I don't.
I think that fight might go the distance. Lusa is so tough.
So you think Battle's gonna beat him up but not stop him?
I can see that because one thing Battle has is he has like his output and his cardio is so underrated. He can literally keep touching you and touching you and touching. He can Max Holloway you if he wants to and have that cardio for the whole round. Maybe not the flashiness that Max does when he drops his hand, does all that stuff, but he can keep going. The guy's got incredible cardio. And moving down to 170, I think it's just going to be, he had it at middleweight. He's going to have it at 170 for sure. So, I mean, I think he's coming in shape, and I think he could literally stand out there and bing, 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 move, bing, bing, defend, bing, bing. And like you said, Ang is super tough. He put on one of the best like contender series fights that we've seen. And Jack Maddalena is clearly not a slouch in any type of way. Yeah. Top of the food chain material there always. So I think Brian Battle can definitely go to this decision for sure. And I think Brian can piece him up.
Last thing, this is a little bonus thing. The great L. Dawson messaged me this earlier, and I know this is right up your alley. This is so good. I love this. This is like, I'm going to make this a whole thing tomorrow. I got time. So by both of your takes, L, you're the one that sent it to me. The Korean Zombie tweeted something out. He goes, listen to this. It's a picture of Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. Korean Zombie goes, this fight felt so much better before we realized they're both giving up a title fight for a nothing belt fight. And like, I read that like twice. I'm like, damn, that man's really speaking the truth. Like when this fight was announced, this is the coolest fight ever. I love this fight. I was such a pro for this fight. Like this one's just for the fans. Like it's UFC 300, Gaethje and Max. Just don't even worry. But I wish in a weird way the BMF belt wasn't on it. This fight is just for us, for the fans. And all of a sudden you think about it with Ilya knocking out Volkanovski, all of a sudden Makhachev wants to come back, and now Poirier maybe wanted. He might get the title shot because Gaethje's fighting this upcoming month. Like both these men really just lost title fights. They really did.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I will say like this doesn't. Gaethje is the one risking it here. If Gaethje loses to a featherweight, like,
but wait. If Max loses to Gaethje, you think he gets a title fight against Ilya? They're both risking.
Maybe. Honestly, yeah. Because, like, they've been waiting for Max Holloway to fight somebody that's not Volkanovski for the title for so long. And if Max loses, he can still, like, he's not a lightweight. Although, I will say, this is the first time he's looked like he could be a lightweight. Like, he looks good.
Yeah.
So he may not want to go back down. He might like how he feels at lightweight. We'll see. But if Gaethje loses to Max Holloway, who is a featherweight, who already had an unsuccessful trip to lightweight,
right?
Gaethje does not get a title shot.
He
Gaethje
doesn't.
needs like probably 2 more fights to get that title shot, because then he's going to be behind possibly Charles Oliveira or Arman or Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be behind like 4 guys if he loses this fight. So like, I kind of am with the zombie here, because like, man, Gaethje's risking a lot for this fight. For the fans, we are very appreciative, because this fight's going to be incredible.
The best. John, I think you're right on this tweet, right? Like, Korean Zombie, I know that man's been punched in the head a lot, but this tweet is just absolutely brilliant.
Oh no, he's speaking truth here. Now, do I agree with everything that was just said? No, they're both risking a lot in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. Holloway, he's not Conor McGregor. He's not like pay-per-view point guy to come off of a loss and fight for a title. If Max Holloway loses, he's got to come back and fight Ortega or Mosar to win and then get a title.
Yeah,
maybe.
But how many people? Like, he's not a pay-per-view guy. He may not move the needle, but whenever somebody says Max Holloway, everybody knows who he is, right? Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Oh, I love Max Holloway.
He's the daddest man on the planet, right? He's the daddest man on the planet. Nice. The second nicest guy next to Wonderboy, Stephen Wonderboy, right?
Yeah.
Type thing. So we love him. Gaethje's risking a lot because he is just everything you said about Gaethje, L, is absolutely right. He's moving down. He's going to move down if something happens. But the reason why I don't fully agree with Zombie for this is this is why this sport is better than boxing, because you got 2 guys that will say F a title. I'm going to go fight one of the baddest dudes out there. I'm going to do it for the fans. I'm going to do that. And this is why, and I'm a boxing guy, right? Like, I love boxing. Like, I love it. So like, and I love MMA the same way, but this is why it's better, is because you got 2 guys that are saying, you know what? The BMF title is pretty cool. It's big enough for me to go on the UFC 300, fight this guy. It is what it is. If I win, I'm 1 step closer, and I got a BMF title for some reason. I got a belt that it's not real, but it's not fake. I got it around my waist. You know what I'm saying? And then if I lose, well, if it's Max Holloway and he loses to Justin, he lost to like a lightweight, he's not a real lightweight, right? So he lost to a lightweight. So he only has to beat 1 guy, maybe 2 at the most, but 1 guy down there. Right, but if he does lose to Max, Max is probably getting knocked out. Right? Would we say that the way Justin beats him is probably knocking him out?
No,
I don't know.
I can't see Max Holloway getting knocked out in my head.
Understand
like,
that.
it doesn't make sense.
100% agree with you. That's my guy. I agree with you. I get it. But I think the only way Max loses this fight, I don't think he's going to be. It's a TKO or it's a KO, and that's how Max loses.
Really? Wow. You don't think Gaethje can win a decision like Dustin did?
No, he's going to get outpointed. And okay. I have a theory behind that, and I'll let it play out.
Gaethje's going to throw with more power and less, and Max will outpoint him.
Yes.
Jab him.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think is this a 5-round fight?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's for the BMF title.
Yeah. So it's 5 rounds. So it's first 2 rounds. If Gaethje gets going and gets pouring it, and we know the legendary chin that is Max. We don't think he can get knocked out. I agree with you. He could, like, those last 3 rounds, he could just start touching them.
Last thing on this fight that none of us has said of this triangle. Imagine this. Imagine if Max Holloway goes up to 155, bulks up, like you said, El, is looking good, looks beef, stops Justin Gaethje, and then he's like, man, Ilya looks pretty damn impressive. He looks amazing. He's at 145. I don't want to cut this damn weight anymore. How about Max Holloway versus Islam Makhachev, a fight that we like? It's not even in our heads. Like, no one's ever thought of that fight. No one's ever said Makhachev versus Holloway. It just doesn't make sense. But how about Max Holloway versus Makhachev at lightweight?
He wanted to fight Khabib, and he was going to do it on a short notice. I ain't mad at him if he tries.
It doesn't make sense. If there were less guys ready to fill that
Arman, Charles, Dustin. Yeah.
Like, you cannot skip Max over all those guys after 1 fight, 1 win at lightweight.
What if he knocks him out? What if it's a spectacular finish?
Doesn't matter. You can't okay, and what if Arman smokes Charles Oliveira?
No, if Arman smokes him, he gets a title.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. If that happens, but if it doesn't, if it's a back and forth fight and Max blasts Gaethje out of the water somehow,
Still, you got Islam clearly wants to fight Dustin. There's that. And I want to go back to, like you were saying, like these guys are throwing away the title. The only reason either of these guys agreed to this fight is because there were no title shots for Max, because Volkanovski was still a champ and Islam was out, so there was no title fight for Gaethje. I don't think either of these guys take this fight if the title is available to them. I think they're both sitting there going, damn, I should be fighting Ilya. I should be fighting Islam.
I do agree. Like,
both these guys are setting their eyes on that.
Because at the time, UFC 300 and, how the calendar works and all that stuff, Dana White probably went to them on January, be like, hey, boys, we would love for you're one of the headliners of the biggest card in the history of the UFC. And both of them were like, all right, yeah, like in a weird way, Justin Gaethje was in the middle of a nowhere spot. Like, is he going to fight Conor? Is he going to fight Makhachev? Dustin wanted that rematch. Like, he was in the middle of like, hey, I might as well do something in the first quarter of the year. And he's the betting favorite. He's the bigger fighter. It kind of makes sense for Justin. And then Max, in a weird way, like, I feel even UFC 300 was even getting put together even before 298 and 299 and stuff. I don't know if he realized that 2 months beforehand, Volk and Topuria were going to go. Of course, Topuria knocks him out, and now he's just waiting. Like, Topuria doesn't have a number one contender. And like you said, if Max is not in this fight, if he pulls a hamstring and that is fight, like, they could literally do Max versus Ilya in the summer. Like, that could happen. Like, slide right in.
Yeah.
Crazy. But
yeah,
Korean Zombie was one of the best tweets of the year. Like, that's phenomenal tweet.
No, I agree. I still think this fight's going the distance. You can't change my mind on that. I don't think.
Who do you have winning?
I think Gaethje. I won't know until I see the first round, because the whole concept of Max outpointing Gaethje, you have to go back to the Dustin fight. Max throws incredible volume, but his volume is only enough to keep guys off of him at featherweight because he doesn't have a ton of power. Dustin literally just disrespected everything he was throwing and walked through it. Gaethje has the chin to be able to do that too. So unless we see a totally different Max, he's put on all this muscle and he looks like he's like really popping him and he's keeping like Gaethje's like worried about the power. If we see that in round one, I'm like, okay, that's a different fight. But they're both so hard to finish. I don't see it happening. I would be shocked if Max Holloway got knocked out this card.
All right. I'm sorry. I went down the rabbit hole. This is so good. You sent me that tweet. I was like, we got to talk about it.
So all right, guys.
Right? So good. So good. UFC Vegas 88 this Saturday night. Thiago Moises is on the card. Brian Battle's on the card. GM3, Brian Barberina, Mike Beast Boy Davis. In the main event, we got Marcin Tybura versus Tai Tuivasa. I don't see going to past 3. Wow, Jay, you're coming in hot, my man. Coming in hot with the Gaethje Holloway talk. Guys, we will have plenty of UFC 300 betting shows and so many more shows to come. But that's UFC Vegas 88 happening this Saturday night. John, any last words? Anything else off the plate?
I just wanted. I think Max could outpoint him for the fact that I'm not sure if Max eats all the shots that Gaethje throws, Gaethje might get tired. I mean, let's be real, and then it might work from there. But I don't see it. I don't see somebody getting knocked out either too much. I do think, though, that it could be a TKO stoppage or a corner stoppage if Gaethje is catching Max too much. Power-wise, kind of like Dustin was beating him up a lot, hard.
He couldn't finish Max, and he beat the piss out of him. And he couldn't.
I agree, but there's a first time for everything sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always a first for something.
Look at these comments. We did a betting show on UFC Vegas 88 for 26 minutes. We got 7 comments. We just got 9 comments on Gaethje and Holloway. I guess this is what the people want us to talk about.
We all want to talk UFC 300.
It's the people fight.
Crazy.
It's the people
fight.
That
is wild. Okay, last one. People are still talking about it. Do you think the winner of that fight, regardless of who it is, fights for a championship title fight next?
Yes. Yeah. I do. I don't know that they'll be the next title fight, because if they've just fought.
Yeah, if Gaethje wins this fight, the next time Justin Gaethje fights is for a world championship.
It will be for a title. The next time Max fights will be for a belt if he wins it.
There you go. Hey,
that's what I agree. I don't know if it will be the next title fight, but they will fight.
I'm not saying
Poirier might fight Makhachev in the summer, like at that June,
Yes.
the Grant Dawson fight card, and then Gaethje and Makhachev in October. He always loves doing October in Abu
But
Dhabi.
we're not saying that they will be the next title
No,
fight.
no, we
we're
all
saying
agree.
that their next fight will be for a title.
Yes. We all agree with that. We're
Jay
all
said
agree.
yes when you worded
We
that
can
way.
end on that. We can end on that. All right, guys, you got, dude. Hey, Jay, coming in hot. I like it. Agreed. Of course you agree because we're the best.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, Ben and Bananas, L. Dawson, John Radford, Dave Van Auken. Guys, watch Saturday night UFC Vegas 88. Tuesday, 1 p.m. Come back to Fight Banana Show live. We already have multiple guests on. So much going on here. That's it. We'll see everyone next Wednesday night. Dude, Jay, we love the blue heart comment, dude. We love you, Jay. All right, guys, we'll see everyone next week.